Hi everyone, Heather here with astrologywithheather.com, and I am back with another weekly forecast. This one is for Monday, September 21st, all the way through to Sunday, September 27th of 2020. And this week we have the sun moving into the sign of Libra. It is officially Libra season, also known as the autumn equinox, which typically is regarded as a time of coming back into balance, coming back into harmony. Libra is a sign that strives for harmony, balance, equality, equilibrium. And in this particular Libra season, I think the sun in Libra is going to try to bring us that, or should I say kind of struggle to bring us that. However, the sun's going to be making some challenging aspects. We have that Mars square to Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter that's been ongoing for quite some time now, and now Mars is in retrograde and coming back into that square exact, which it'll actually come into the exact square with Saturn again next week. The sun is going to be highlighting this, you guys, for the next several weeks. For the next 4 weeks, we're going to have the sun in Libra, which is a triggering influence. I've mentioned in previous videos and also in a lot of my electional guides, like my fall electional guide, where I talk about the best and worst energies to start something that you want to be successful in for the fall. I mention that anytime we have a cardinal energy coming in any of the cardinal signs, so that's Aries, that's Cancer, that's Libra, that's Capricorn, it's triggering this ongoing energy of the Jupiter-Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. And now, especially this fall, throughout the entire rest of the year, any cardinal activation on a short-term basis is really infusing the long-term transits of Mars squaring off to these planets back and forth during its retrograde cycle over this like 6-month long period that we're really deep into right now, and it's intensifying that energy. And so the sun moving into Libra is no exception to that. So normally the sun moving into Libra would be a time where we do kind of come back into balance from the maybe overactivity and externalization that comes with the summer months, or for those of you who are in the Southern Hemisphere, it's time to come out of your shell and, you know, be out in the world again and sort of do things and become more active, right? It's that part of the solar cycle for you guys. And, you know, that is still a part of this energy. Of course, it is the equinox, but this is not going to be an energy that is conducive to finding balance and harmony between different parties. This is not going to be a time where, you know, justice is really served. This is not going to be a time where we find true balance or equilibrium. It's going to be a time where we feel like that's what we want. Like we really, really want to just come back into balance and have everything sort of level out. But this is actually an energy that it's not necessarily going to be possible for most people, and it's not going to be possible in the areas of life that are being impacted by this. This is a time of challenge. This is a time of friction. This is a time of delays. This is a time of just a lot of energy that can sit on us really heavily, and it's going to kind of tip the scales. And so that's kind of part of what I want to talk about for this forecast is that Libra energy, the sun in Libra, and that's going to become more prevalent in terms of the disruptive influence that it'll be highlighting at the later half of Libra season. So in a couple of weeks, it'll be a way more prevalent energy where things are going to get really dicey. I mentioned in my video forecast for the fall, the mundane astrology forecast I did with Robert Phoenix, this time period near October 13th where the sun will be making an exact T-square with Mars and Saturn, and Mars will be at its closest point to the Earth. So we're building up to that type of energy, and that Mars-Saturn square is really strong right now. So it's not going to feel as harmonious. It's not going to feel as balanced. It's going to feel like we're really striving to create and maintain balance. But in order to get there, we have to put in some effort. We have to struggle a little bit. We have to work at it. It's not going to come to us just, you know, all easily on its own. We're going to have to do some things. We're going to have to rebalance, and we're going to have to look at certain areas of our lives and what we've created so far and what we need to break down or recreate or reinitiate moving into the future. So that's going to be a big part of the energy. The other thing this week that is especially prevalent is Mercury. Mercury is already in the sign of Libra, and it is actually going to be forming a T-square with Saturn and Mars. So that Saturn-Mars energy, as I mentioned before, is coming exact next week. That means it's very strong this week. This is a hurry up and wait energy. This is that energy where it's like you want to push forward, you want something to happen, but you know the timing's not right, or you're coming into roadblocks. Someone's telling you no, something is telling you no, either literally or metaphorically, you're getting that no, like, no, wait. And when Mercury comes into the mix, this comes into some sort of communication, some sort of negotiation, some sort of agreement between two parties, or just in general, communication this week is it's not necessarily going to bring us together. We're going to be striving to create balance through our communication. We're going to be striving to communicate in a way that's more equal and harmonious, where we're taking into consideration other people's opinions and thought processes. And it's like everyone on the other side, you feel like you're doing that. Maybe you're not actually doing that too. That's another little tidbit there. But maybe you are doing that and you're trying really hard to do that, but you're just getting so angry and so lit up about the opinions of the other side, or you have somebody who you're trying to relate to and you're trying to communicate with more effectively in a way that's more balanced and considerate, and they're just like yelling at you or coming at you or forcing their opinions down your throat. We're going to see a lot of that. I know we're already seeing a lot of that in terms of like the global sphere, especially if you're somebody who's on social media. I've kind of taken a step back from especially Facebook, which is just so toxic. It's like a cesspool. I might delete my Facebook too, but that's a whole nother topic entirely. Every time I say I'm going to do that, all of you guys are like, no, don't delete it. I like following your posts. But anyway, this is an energy where it's the communication that comes up this week doesn't necessarily bring us together. It separates us. It separates us from something that we need to separate from. It separates us from a verbal agreement or from some sort of conversation that maybe we don't need to be having, or maybe we need to kind of take a step away from and revisit at another time. That conversation could be related to negotiations with your work, something related to your family situation, to your relationships. It really depends on how this is showing up for your sign more specifically, which we're about to get into here in just a second. And before we do, I just wanted to mention a couple of quick things. So first and foremost, for those of you who are interested in learning about what's coming up for 2021, I am cooking up something special for all of you. And so if you're signed up for my newsletter, which you can find the link to sign up down in the description below, kind of at the very bottom of the description, then you're going to be the first to be notified about this come Monday. And for everyone else too, you should probably sign up for my newsletter. I'm working on next week my October monthly newsletter, where I go through and give a really detailed rundown for all of the major energies for the month ahead. And so you can find that again down in the description below. It's free to sign up. And so you'll also get my monthly newsletter. And sometimes I write some other stuff and, send out like little freebies and PDFs and stuff as I go along. But so that's something that's there for you. And for those of you who are looking to be successful this fall, to accomplish something that you really want to accomplish, and you want it to go well, even amidst some of these difficult energies, I have a complete 3-month fall electional astrology guide, which highlights the best and worst days for the month ahead. There is a calendar, there's a PDF write-up that gives descriptions and specific dates and times that you can use to really harness the best energies. And even there's a video rundown that goes through each month in its entirety and talks about the energy for different days. And so you can find that down in the description below. And I think that's pretty much it for right now. So let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs, beginning with Aries. Okay, so for Aries and for Aries rising, this Mars energy is in your sign, as you already know. I'm sure you're very, very much aware of this sort of inflammatory, frustrated, really supercharged energy that's going on in your sign. It's kind of like you want to push forward with something. You want to act on your willpower. You want to do what you want to do when you want to do it in a typical Aries fashion, except like tenfold right now. And there are blockages, and those blockages can be coming from your work or from somebody in a position of authority. This week, though, there could be some sort of issues involving communication where words are exchanged. And you might actually be the one who's being really aggressive or really pushy in some way, or causing the conflict or separation, with the other party. And so that's something to just kind of be very aware of. Be aware of the way that you're saying things. Be aware of the way that you're approaching an important negotiation or an important conversation with a partner, especially when it comes to work-related partnerships or business partnerships, or important conversations maybe with bosses or authority figures. Maybe you want to negotiate a better position, or you want to talk about an important project or something like that, and you're maybe going about it in a way that's too blunt, that's too tactless, that's too straightforward, and it might come across as being a little bit abrasive. This could also come from the other side too. Like, there could be things that warrant the way that you're speaking, or it could be that the other person is speaking to you in that way, and that causes you to get lit up and maybe you lose your temper. This is not the week to lose your temper, though. This is going to create a huge imbalance in your relationships. You really want to make sure that you're taking a breath, that you're not reacting. You don't have to respond or react to the situation or react to the communications that come in the moment immediately. Take some time. Maybe you do have to address it rather quickly, but it doesn't mean that you have to just, the first thing that comes to your mind, say it, right? So take some time, breathe, calm down, sleep on it if you can, and then respond. That's going to go a long way for you this week, because you're going to be feeling really heated. You're going to have a sharp tongue, especially Aries rising people, anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees. It's going to be an interesting energy. This is also a time where in love relationships, you might feel an extra level of passion or excitement in the relationship. And that could be actually quite nice, but there could be something going on maybe with your work or with your partner's work that puts a damper on it a little bit. The other thing that could be going on here too is that there could be arguments and disputes in your romantic partnerships. So all of those things that I mentioned before still hold true. Even if you're somebody who never goes to bed angry or something like that, this doesn't have to be addressed immediately, especially if you have a feeling that the conversation is going to cause more divisiveness and separation than balance and harmony. So something to think about here. And relationships are going to be highlighted for you with the sun in Libra over the next month. And so that's going to be a source of tension, but also a source of illumination, where you're going to see where there are things that need to be addressed, especially in terms of communication, especially in terms of creating better balance and harmony, or working towards something in partnership with somebody else. And so that's going to be a part of this energy as well. Okay, and for Taurus and for Taurus rising. So for Taurus, this energy is happening in your 12th and in your 6th house. This is kind of a dicey energy. I would say for Taurus in particular, take care of your health this week. Don't overdo it. Don't, push too hard. There can be an energy of wanting to be busy, or working really hard towards something on a day-to-day basis, and that could burn you out. This is a time where you're going to be very prone to exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, just feeling like you don't have as much energy as normal, just because first and foremost, Mars is transiting your 12th house. And so that's not a strong placement for Mars. That's a time where your anger and frustrations might become more internalized, and you might not feel like you have the energy to stand up for yourself or to do what you need to do. On top of that, you're having this energy here with Mercury, which is in your 6th house of health and work and daily routines. And this could be a time where you're working really hard towards some sort of goal and plan for your career or for your business, or just kind of in general on a day-to-day basis, working really hard towards some sort of health goal or something like that. And you might overdo it a little bit this week, or over communicate with your coworkers. There could be, if you are working in a place where you have employees especially, or if you do have coworkers, there could be words exchanged. There could be a difference in ideologies, or a difference in philosophy or belief systems that could cause a little bit of a rift. It could cause things to become a little bit imbalanced. And so one of the things that Taurus loves is to have balance and stability and harmony in their day-to-day experience. And this is going to throw you off a little bit. So you want to be prepared for that. You want to make sure you're not pushing too hard. And when conflict does arise, take a step back and really try to put yourself in the other person's shoes and see things from their perspective. If they're not willing to listen to you, if they're not willing to negotiate, leave it. This is something that you can definitely come back to later on. It does not always need to be addressed right away. Even if it does need to be dealt with somewhat quickly, it doesn't mean you have to do it right this second. So take a breath, sleep on it, gather your thoughts, and then go from there. Okay, for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Geminis, this energy is happening in your 11th and in your 5th house, and it's kind of squaring those planets in your 8th. And so this could be power struggles with friends that come up, or power struggles especially involving children or play or hobbies or interests or things that bring you joy. This is not as challenging of an energy for Geminis in particular right now as it normally would be. Yes, you have this little mini stellium, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn occurring in your 8th house, which is a house of fears and anxieties and power struggles and things that are really intense. And so you can have a lot of that stuff coming up still, and you will for the remainder of this year, where you have to work through a lot of your deepest fears, where you're going to have to face things that you were afraid to face prior to this period. There could even be financial issues that come up involving groups of people or an organization that you're a part of, and there could be maybe disputes or power struggles or arguments about how to handle that situation. If that is the case, you don't absolutely have to jump in and say something. You don't absolutely have to solve the issue or resolve the dispute right this second. Definitely, this is a time to choose your words wisely, to make sure that you're thinking about things in a way that's fair and balanced, and that you're putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Maybe they're not willing to listen. Maybe the group is not willing to listen to your opinions or to your ideas. And, if that's the case, that's okay. This is not a time to get heated about it, because that's going to come back and bite you. So whatever you do right now in terms of all of these topics and all these issues I just mentioned, especially related to groups or related to your finances, you might make a really quick, hasty financial decision this week, and it could impact you, or it could impact your children. It could impact your friends or your social networks in a way that could be detrimental in the future. So don't look for immediate gratification. And don't look for immediate gratification when it comes to feeling like you're vindicated, or you're being validated for your beliefs or your opinions or what you think needs to happen. Don't look for immediate gratification financially. That's something that will come back around later this year and bite you. But if you do take your time and think things through, and you solve things in a way that's fair and balanced, and you're able to come to that space, now's a time where you're being challenged to do that. It's going to take more work. It's going to be a struggle, and you're going to have to think long term. It's not about getting those immediate results, and doing that will actually free up a lot of energy, so you can connect with your joy. You can connect with the things that you love a lot more easily into the future. And so it's about setting the stage or setting the framework for that for yourself, and not pushing too hard necessarily. Okay, for Cancer and for Cancer rising. So for Cancers, this is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation. There's been a lot of energy there. It's like you want to jump in, you want to start something, you want to initiate, you want to move forward with something brand new or something really exciting in terms of a project, or maybe even a new career path with your work. And there could be some energy involving a partnership, maybe even a marriage partnership, where it's like, no, this is not responsible. You have to do the things the right way. You have to sort of live up to your responsibility to me or to your previous job or whatever it is. There's something there that's kind of bringing this hesitation or this blockage or this frustration. This week, it's a time where there could be a conflict between your work goals and plans and maybe what's needed from you in your home environment. Also, there could be discussions that could turn into arguments or disputes involving family members or involving your partner or somebody who you live with, or it could be arguments and disputes with an authority figure involving your home, your property, your place of living, where it could get heated and they might not be willing to see your side of the story and you might not be willing to see theirs. And so this is a time to take a step back. You don't have to send that email to your landlord. You don't have to hit that send button right away. Sleep on it, right? You don't have to hit that send button to your boss. You don't have to say that snarky remark to your partner, you can sit and think about it. Think about what they're telling you. Think about their side of things. Think about their perspective. If they're not willing to think about your side of things, once you've done that and once you approach it from that way, then that tells you it's time to retreat, right? This is Mars retrograde. Retreat, retreat, retreat. And wait until the right timing to push the issue if you can. So that's what's going to be going on for you this week, Cancer. Okay, for Leo and for Leo rising. So for Leos, this is happening in your 9th house. So this is actually your 9th and your 3rd. So this is actually a nicer energy for Leos than it will be for some of the other signs. This Mars-Mercury energy, especially if you have your Leo rising, sun or moon, anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees, it'll be hitting you at an angle that is very positive. You'll have Mars in trine with your ascendant, sun or moon, and you'll have Mercury in sextile. And so what that means is that this is actually going to be, even though it's angled and it's causing pressure on a day-to-day basis, it's causing potentially health issues or delays in getting healthy or getting into that new nutritional or workout routine. It's causing delays or frustrations in the workplace. It's causing delays or frustrations when it comes to an important project with your work, or maybe even in your communications with your coworkers. That's an area of stress. However, there's also an area of opportunity for you. Mars trining your ascendant is a really great time to take action on something. With Mars in retrograde, it's a time to take action on something that you've been learning or discussing or thinking about for quite some time that maybe you've already taken action on in the past, and you've decided now's the time to relaunch. Now's the time to get back into it. Now's the time to revisit and just jump back in to this maybe area of study, this adventure, this idea that you've had in the past. You're going to be feeling really motivated and really optimistic. And so even though the day-to-day might be tense, the big picture is going to feel more expansive, more open. You're going to feel fired up and passionate, especially when it comes to something, again, that you're revisiting, that you have already initiated. It's kind of like you're re-solidifying your passion towards some sort of maybe not a career path necessarily, but it could be re-solidifying your excitement or your passion toward an area of study, or maybe some sort of plans with travel, or maybe towards somebody who's in a foreign country, or maybe toward teaching. Maybe you're going to relaunch a course and you're going to start getting going on that, or you're going to re-edit and republish your book or something. Those types of things can come up for you. So this is also if you're thinking about maybe doing something involving a vehicle or short distance travel. With Mars retrograde, I don't recommend repairing or purchasing a vehicle necessarily. It's not the best time for machinery and mechanics. I did an Instagram post about my own personal experience with this. I tried to avoid it, but things panned out in a way that I wasn't able to control, and then, chaos ensued involving an engine. So, not the best time to do that for the first time, or but it is a time where you could, like, if you had something going on with your vehicle, it got repaired and now it broke again, you could fix it and it could finally be fixed for good, like something like that. So anyway, Leo and Leo rising. And so now let's move into Virgo. For Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for you guys, this is happening in your 2nd and in your 8th house. And, although the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction in your 5th house is treating you a lot more kindly than it is some of the other signs. It's making a really nice trine with your ascendant, sun, or moon. If it's trining your ascendant, it's also sextiling your descendant. Really anywhere from 15 to 30 degrees in Virgo, you're getting hit with this in a very positive way, where it's really helping you to transform your experience in a way that brings you more joy. It's helping you to create something stable and long-lasting in your own life and also in your love life. And so this is a positive thing. However, this week it's being hit in a really challenging way. That Mars energy is already putting a damper on that, right? You've been getting the good energy this whole year, and now you're starting to get a little bit of tension. And that tension is probably coming through joint finances, debt, taxes, joint finances, other people's money, maybe loans or inheritance or insurance payouts or something like that. There could be a source of tension. There could also just be power struggles in general, or fears or anxieties that are coming up in a very visceral, very real way, where there's something that you have to address very immediately that sort of highlights past traumas or past anxieties that are coming back up for you. So there's that energy that's coming that's kind of blocking your joy or putting a strain on, it's putting a damper on the party. Mercury is highlighting that too. And so financial worries, financial stresses, and maybe even conflicts or disputes involving finances with a partner, or maybe with a debt collections agency or something like that, or with a tax collector, or with your CPA. There's some sort of like argument, dispute, power struggle, exchanging of words where it could cause a loss or a separation. If you do separate from somebody as a result of these financial issues, it could be your accountant, it could be maybe you thought that you severed ties and you negotiated this like financial contract once and for all. It'll come back around. So don't try to do anything final involving finances this week, because it's likely to, first off, it's likely to be a little bit of a struggle. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be some challenge there. And it's likely to come back around where you're going to have to revisit that or redo it in some way, or it's going to completely unravel when Mars goes direct. I've seen that. So things will fizzle out. So big financial decisions, not the best time. Separating or breaking contracts or negotiations involving finances, again, not the best time. You might have to go back and revisit that. So just keep that in mind. But it's a lot of stress and a lot of worry about finances that's really preventing you from just enjoying your life right now. And, even if it's just on a small level, like there's just one little thing that's a little off or that's come up, it's going to be like nagging at you and gnawing at you. So, just try to let it go, try to release it, journal about it, do some breath work, maybe some physical activity or physical exercise could help as well, but don't dwell on it, because this is something that's likely to resolve itself or to be resolved later on down the line. It's not going to be resolved right this second if that is the case. And Libra season in general is going to be a time where your finances are highlighted, so your budget and your money mindset and your bank account, these things will be on your mind, and it's going to illuminate and highlight the areas of stress or the cracks in the framework. So maybe you thought you had a solid financial plan and you're starting to see that you don't. And so now's a time where you can start working toward reevaluating that, breaking things down, and then maybe moving forward with something that's going to be more appropriate for your financial future later on down the line, especially later this year. Okay, and then for Libra and for Libra rising. So for Libras, this energy is happening in your sign. So this is another one where there could be arguments or disputes, especially with family members, because this is making a T-square to Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn in your 4th house. This could also be arguments or disputes in partnership in general. So romantic partnership or in close friendships or involving some sort of negotiation, contract, or agreement, or maybe even a business partnership as well. But this is a time where it's likely, especially if you are a Libra rising, anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees, it's likely that words will be exchanged and that it'll be a little tense and it'll be a little hard to come to some sort of resolution. It could be that you are really thinking about things in a way that's fair and balanced, and you're really trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes to see things from their perspective, and they're just coming at you and they're not willing to see things in a different way. If that's the case, retreat. This is not the time to, make a stand or make a statement or prove something. If you want to maintain that relationship, if you want to separate from that relationship, that can happen, but it's still going to come back around. You're still going to have something that you're going to have to finalize and resolve. It could even be, with a parent or with a close family member. There's something where it's weighing on you or it's preventing you from moving forward with what you truly need, want, and desire in your home life or in your living situation or with your family. And this could also be an energy where there's some sort of argument with a landlord or with some sort of contract or agreement involving your property. This isn't the time to press the issue if it doesn't seem like it's going to be going anywhere, or if it's not going your way, if they're not willing to open up and see your point of view. Definitely take a breath. You don't have to address it right now. You don't have to send that email right now. You don't have to call that family member right this second and yell at them or whatever it is. Take a breath, sleep on it, and then see if you still feel that way in a couple of days or next week even. Well, next week it's still going to be tense, but this is something that it's going to linger and you don't have to address it right this second. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising, this is another sign where, you know, you haven't been hit quite as hard by the Jupiter-Pluto-Saturn conjunction because it's been trining your descendant or sextiling your ascendant, sun, or moon, or both. And so you've been getting kind of the benefits of this Jupiter-Pluto-Saturn energy more so than the challenges. Well, now you've started to get the challenging energy ever since Mars moved into Aries, and especially the past month when Mars has been squaring this little stellium here in the sign of Capricorn. It's been tense. There's been intense communication. There's been maybe some intensity around your work. Maybe there's been, you know, health stuff that's come up. Maybe there's been stuff coming up around communication with coworkers, a lot of different things, or even like vehicles or short distance travel. I definitely have seen that side of it myself, as I mentioned when I was talking about the Leo forecast. Where everything was just going so smoothly, and then all of a sudden Mars came in, and it's like things are not moving forward that way anymore. And so this is going to highlight that a little bit. So this is a time where there could be somebody potentially involved in your work, maybe a coworker, maybe an employee, maybe a past employee, somebody connected to your work, or to somebody who's connected to you more on that day-to-day mundane level, maybe somebody that you see on a day-to-day basis that you interact with or engage with, you know, maybe somebody who is in the service industry or something like that who you interact with. In either case though, I mean, this is more likely, especially if you're somebody who's working, who has coworkers or employees, that there's somebody in your workplace that is talking about you behind your back, that is gossiping, that is sharing information that is false or that is one-sided. And it could be tempting to figure out who's doing what and to address the situation. Maybe you might even feel kind of angry about it. But this isn't the time to really press the issue. You might cause things to blow out of proportion, or you might cause an issue that will take a very long time to resolve. And so this is a good time to kind of take a step back, breathe, sit on it. Don't necessarily have to like jump in and have that conversation right now, unless it really demands your attention in the immediate, like you have to take action sort of situation. This could also bring frustrations involving education, involving marketing, involving your immediate community or neighbors. There could be disputes. That could even be the person too. There could be like somebody in your community is like gossiping about you behind your back, and it's causing tension or frustration in some way. This is a good time though to have a physical outlet. So Mars in the 6th house is a really great time to engage in some sort of new physical activity, especially really intense physical activity that really engages your muscles. So like strength training or something like that. Especially with that Saturn square, disciplined physical activity is a really good outlet. And so kind of keep that in mind. If your mind's going crazy and you're like, oh my God, I just want to tell that person off. Channel that into some like physical aggression, right? Not toward that person, but like something physically activating, you know, like do a really intense workout or something like that. You know, this is a good time for mental discipline as well as physical discipline. And, you know, that Sun and Libra energy, this is like your cocoon time. Everybody gets like 2 times a year where the sun is either coming into the solar return, so just before the solar return where it's the end of a cycle, and also you have the sun coming into the 12th house. And so whether you're a Scorpio sun or a Scorpio ascendant, you're coming into this period where it's time to turn inward and to kind of pull away a little bit more so. And work behind the scenes, right? As opposed to putting yourself out there. And that's going to be going on for the next 4 weeks. There's something you need to address behind the scenes before you create something in physical reality. All right, and then for Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. So for all of you Sagittarius people, this energy is happening in your 11th, 5th, and 2nd house. So there is some sort of tension, there is some sort of dispute, anger, there's some sort of frustration or oppressive energy that you're really trying to work on breaking out of when it comes to your finances. There could also be a message that comes in that impacts your finances, or a bill that comes in and it gets you kind of heated or lit up or like angry in some way. This could be arguments or disputes or or words exchanged with friends, or just groups or networks or people that you surround yourself with by choice, maybe a team, especially if you're like in team sports, because this is also involving the 5th house, so it's the 5th and the 11th, that would very literally be like a sports team that you're on where, you know, there's some sort of conflict, there's some sort of disagreement, there's some sort of aggression, and you feel like you want to argue your point, you feel like you want to address it, but it's not necessarily the time to do so. Luckily, actually, even though there could be a financial pressure this week, there could be something that you feel like you need to address financially, but it's not going to get resolved right now. So don't like worry about having it done right now. Like it'll linger. And even if you feel like you fixed it right now, it's not fixed right now. So take your time with any financial plans and projects this week. Just because you think it in the moment doesn't mean you have to do it in that moment. But luckily for Sagittarius, this Mercury and Mars energy is actually hitting your ascendant sun or moon in a very pleasant way, especially if you're a Sagittarius sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from 25 to 30 degrees. This is going to be making positive aspects, and this is causing you to feel optimistic, ambitious, lit up, more energized. You might have some really great ideas, but maybe the financial backing isn't there. And so it's not necessarily that you can't move forward with these things. You absolutely can, but now's the time to sort of revisit old ideas, revisit old things that you initiated in the past that maybe fizzled out, and think about how you can relaunch the things that you feel really passionate about, that bring you joy. The financial aspect of it is going to hinder your ability to fully move into it right now, but you can get there, right? You can get there. So this isn't about getting immediate gratification. It will be delayed, and there probably will be a financial reason for that, or a reason tied to the way that you create your resources even, but you will be able to accomplish your goals and ambitions. It'll just take until probably the end of the year for that to start to take shape. So yeah, so for Sagittarius, you're going to feel motivated, you're going to feel optimistic, you're going to have a better expression of this energy, and you're going to feel more energized. So don't let the financial stresses bring you down if that is applicable to you. And Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So for Capricorns, this is hitting you more directly as well. So you have that Capricorn stellium that's been hitting you hard for the past, year now at least. So Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn still in your sign, still being squared by Mars. And so I'm sure that you've been feeling that tension, you know, that extra burden, that energy where you want to hurry up and do something, but you have to be responsible or take the long way, or somebody's telling you no, or there are delays. This is a time where there's going to be something going on involving potentially a communication or a message involving your work, or involving your boss or somebody in a position of authority in your work, that is going to cause a little extra pressure or a little extra stress, especially on your home life. So it could be that your boss asks you to pick up a different project, and you are kind of wanting to wind down and spend more time at home because there's so much to address at home right now. There's like so many tense energies coming in right now, involving your family, involving your parents, involving, your home life in general. And so it could be that you want to focus on that. Maybe you're working on renovating or addressing something that came up kind of very immediately in your home environment. And so this message, this communication can cause mental stress and mental strain, and a lot of anxiety, I would say, around your work and around your home life, and potentially arguments in the home, or potentially this need to change something or rearrange something or address something in your home. You don't have to, if it is causing maybe an argument or a dispute involving your family members or involving your property, or if it's really causing you to feel very imbalanced between work and life, you don't have to say yes to it. You can say no. And if you can't say no to it, then you don't have to go all in right now. This is a time to kind of reassess and reevaluate, as opposed to kind of just jumping in head first into things. But there is some energy there. It's going to be fleeting though. It's not going to last forever. So that is going to just add a little bit more weight. And then the rest of this month too, the sun is going to be transiting through the 10th house. And that's going to highlight your career goals and plans. So that's going to cause you to really look at, what do you want for yourself career-wise, and how does that relate to what happens after work, what you want for yourself in your home or with your family? What do you want for yourself on a personal level, and how is that being either helped or hindered by your career path or your work situation? That's a big question right now, and that will be a big question that will continue to come up and maybe even become more prevalent over the next 4 weeks. All right, and then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this energy is happening in your 3rd and in your 9th house. And so Aquarius is another sign where this particular influence is not hitting you quite as hard, even though, yes, it's causing something to go on behind the scenes that can feel very heavy or very stressful in some way. It's not necessarily that you don't have an out, right? So especially if you're an Aquarius sun, moon, or rising, with your sun, moon, or rising anywhere between 25 and 30 degrees, you might be feeling this as like you're really ambitious, you're feeling really driven, you're feeling really motivated, you're having really great ideas that you feel really optimistic and passionate about, and you want to move forward with it. It could even be that you want to move forward with something involving education or travel, or maybe even connecting with somebody in a foreign country, or something along those lines. But there's something behind the scenes, or there's something internally that's maybe blocking you. Maybe you feel like you're not good enough. Maybe you're too perfectionistic. Maybe you're too critical of your ideas, of yourself, of the thoughts that you're having right now, where it's like, I know this is a good idea, I know I can do this, but something in me is like, they're going to make fun of me, they're going to think it's stupid, I don't want to put it out there. That's not necessarily the case. That's kind of like an internal dialogue going on, and I do think that you can make some headway, especially if there's something that you want to revisit that you already launched in the past. So maybe you launched into an educational program and you ended up quitting halfway through because something came up or whatever happened, and now you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go back, I'm going to get my degree, I'm going to get that certificate, I'm going to do that thing. You can absolutely do that. You are good enough. You are going to be able to sustain that energy, but now's maybe not the time to jump into it fully. Because there will be delays, because there will be hardships, because it will take more time. But at the end of this year, especially if you plan accordingly, this is a time where you actually could launch or relaunch into something. So it's a good time to prepare. You could even start relaunching into it, and that could work out for you. Just know that there's going to be some extra challenge, and you're going to have to put in some extra work in order to make it happen. But you can make it happen right now. It's aligning nicely for you in that way. All right, for Pisces and for Pisces rising. Pisces. All right, so this is another sign that has been getting a little bit of a nicer energy with the Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter conjunction. It's been in your 11th house. It's causing you to reevaluate your group connections, your associations, your friendships, all of that. But it's also been, especially if you're a Pisces rising, trining your descendant and sextiling your sun. Really anywhere from 15 to 30 degrees, you're going to be feeling this really, really nicely. And so you have had a better energy up until this part of the year. Now there's some sort of financial strain or something that's coming up for you that's causing tension, and it involves material possessions, money, finances, something along those lines. It's a very material concern or a material stressor that's putting a strain on your relationships or putting a strain on your group connections in some way. And so even though you have these really positive energies, that's putting a little bit of a damper on things. It's not completely mitigating the positive, but it is causing things to be more stressful. And so you might have arguments, disputes, challenges, and difficulties, especially this week, that come up through some sort of communication involving your finances, involving a debt, involving a loan, involving taxes or inheritance, especially if it's tied to some sort of group or organization. Or it could be something that causes an additional stressor, and it causes words to be exchanged between you and your friends. And so, and it could also just very literally be power struggles involving your your friendships, your group connections, your group associations that come up. And, you know, if you feel like you want to lash out or like yell at your friends or something like that, take a step back, take a breath, right? If you're feeling really anxious about your finances or about some sort of financial situation that is coming up for you this week, or a message that you receive, maybe a bill, you don't have to address it right this second. Even if you address it right now and you feel like it's completely fixed, it doesn't mean that it's going to be actually resolved. You might still have to deal with it again later this year. So it actually would serve you to just kind of take a step back, look at it from a different perspective, sleep on it before you take action. And so that's part of what's going on here. The anxieties around your finances, yeah, it's stressful, but it's not necessarily like the be all end all. You have an out, and those outs are going to be through your connections and group associations. You know, once this Mercury passes, that might be a little bit more apparent. And then the sun is actually going to be transiting your 8th house for the next 4 weeks. And so money and material matters, especially when it comes to joint finances or your investments or inheritance, or, you know, maybe you're trying to get a loan for something or you're trying to pay off debts. That's going to be at the forefront. It's going to be illuminated. And so the areas in which things are going well, that will be apparent, but where there are cracks in the foundation of your financial situation, that's going to be highlighted as well, and you're going to see that very clearly. And so this is going to be a time to rework that area of your life over the next 4 weeks. And so that's a part of this energy too. It could also be bringing up, you know, anxieties or fears from your past. It could bring up power struggles and things like that. Again, it's showing you where the cracks in your foundation are, especially when it comes to your group associations and friendships. That could be a part of it too. So it could be showing you where you thought that you had some really solid friendships and you thought that you had made a lot of headway there, and there are still a couple people that are kind of shady, or that are not on your side, or that are working against you, or that are they're just not loyal, they're just not trustworthy, they're just not stable, you know, really solid friendships. Or maybe you're a part of a group and you're like, I thought this group was one way, now I'm starting to see that it's, you know, more political, or it's this way, so maybe I need to start thinking about my exit strategy. So those things could be coming up for Pisces as well. Okay, and so that is my forecast for all 12 signs. And thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel, and be sure to share this video with your friends if you feel like they could benefit from the information I just provided you. And I will see you all next week. Bye, everyone.